George, I have a bunch of questions for you. We have about 10 minutes or so I'm going to wrap. Whoa, look at that. We have 12 and a half minutes. So I'm going to rapid fire it a little bit at you. Okay, I think you know that the work we're doing around the future of search is super interesting and exciting. We're sort of looking at how major retailers are leaning heavily into AI.
Sure.
With the launch of concierge services. Paul talked earlier about Rufus. It's a great example from Amazon that are really about delivering these really personalized conversational shopping journeys. So here at CES, what are the things that you're looking at that you think are interesting and compelling in the context of this sort of future of advertising-driven commerce?
Yeah. So we've obviously all had lots of generative AI discussions.
Yes.
I think what we're seeing now is moving from maybe the dream state in 2024 into more of a pragmatic application of AI in a pretty expansive way into stuff, into devices, into consumer touch points. And I think that's, for once, making all of those touch points much more intelligent than they have been historically. And I think that it's really interesting if you view that through the lens of what will soon become possible at scale in terms of delivering much more enhanced, much more personalized consumer experiences.
I mean, that's how it's feeling. You look at something like Rufus, and it's essentially a completely tailored shopping journey that is essentially available to any consumer who wants to have it. And that's such a change. When you think about what it used to look like to go on Amazon and search versus going on Amazon now and essentially having, as you said, and as we talked about earlier, a totally personalized experience. It feels as though that could be pretty profound in terms of how brands operate in those platforms.
For sure. I mean, if you think about historically, the retail or commerce journey has been inherently transactional. It's been pretty boring. And I think these new capabilities are going to make retail exciting in a way that we haven't seen probably in quite a few decades. Retail's always had this very special relationship with entertainment and storytelling and experience. I won't bore you with my past, but I did quite a lot of schooling in English and American history and literature. And if you look at the dawn of some of the early department stores in the mid to late 1800s, they weren't just stores, they were entertainment spaces.
Right.
And obviously that's kept pace with what we saw with the advent of soap operas and that format, right, which was another selling format. So we're kind of in this very interesting third wave of kind of exciting experience meets retail, but for the digital age, which I think is going to do things that we're not even imagining.
And I suspect consumers are going to move faster than any of us.
Always.
Yeah, I mean, this is something I borrowed actually from Ben, who's on your team, this notion of the endless waltz, which I love. It's essentially a technology arrives, consumers adopt the technology, and marketers have to adapt in sort of this constant cycle of innovation and marketers having to adapt.
It's a humbling way to think about.
What's that?
It's a humbling way to think about what really.
It's extremely humbling.
What really happens. And I should have said this earlier, but see, there's Ben Hovanes right there. Much of what I'm saying right now came from Ben's head. Okay.
I know. I knew that. Okay, so I want to shift gears slightly. I mean, it's interesting because you sort of talked about the notion of entertainment. Like a very clear example of where marketers are playing in the spaces of entertainment is in CTV.
Sure.
And again, when we think about the sort of merging of commerce and advertising, we sort of have to talk about CTV. And one of the things that I'm really interested in is when you start to see CTV become a much more shoppable environment. We're going to talk about that a bit later. But when you look at someone like Amazon that now has the biggest footprint in ad-supported streaming TV, and Walmart closed on the Vizio deal, it looks like in December, clearly the opportunity is big. So what is interesting about, do you think, the marriage of CTV and retail?
Yeah, it's
brands.
It's a bit of an odd couple, really, in the sense that on the CTV side, you've got the big, beautiful, full screen
Absolutely.
advertising formats, the sexy stuff. And then for the last decade on the retail side, it's been the kind of ugly,
Yeah.
not sexy,
SKU level, DCO,
SKU level.
display advertising. Yeah.
So it's like, The Bold and the Beautiful meets Revenge of the Nerds.
Wait, what does it say that I really love both?
Well, look, this is what's happening because, the one kind of desperately needs the other one
Yeah.
to fill gaps. And what we get at the end of the day is this beautiful child that is also really, really smart because you've got now the data horsepower of retail and you've got the full screen canvas of connected TV coming together, in a way that gives us 1 + 1 is
75
more than
million.
2 at least, yeah?
More than 2. Yeah, no, I truly believe we are only at the beginning of what is going to be possible in streaming television when it comes to commerce.
That's really exciting,
Yeah.
and we've all lived. I mean, I'm not going to look at everybody's ages here, but this is like QVC on steroids, right? I mean,
But like bending our imaginations in ways probably
for
that
sure.
QVC couldn't even
for sure.
envision in a world where
That's
we have
exciting.
these conversational AI agents, for example, or when you can talk to your television and say, "Hey, put that in my cart."
I've always talked to my television.
That's
The
a
difference
different
now is
conversation.
It responds.
That's a different conversation, George, for another day, maybe later tonight. Me too. Okay, so that said, and this is not a new conversation around challenges, but it always feels worthwhile having the conversation around challenges in retail media because it is a rocket ship,
Sure.
but it is still relatively immature. I think it's particularly challenging for brands and agencies.
Yeah.
We have CASA, the Council for Accountability and Standards in Advertising. That is really about creating standardization within and across retailers. But that's sort of at the industry level. Talk a little bit about what you think are, for your clients, the big pain points that still exist in retail.
Yeah, well, we take a bit of a step back and we kind of, some scene setting. So digital retail is still out ahead of digital retail advertising.
Totally
Yeah?
fair. Yep.
Right? So digital retail is growing 8-10% a year globally. Digital retail advertising is growing 20-25%
Right.
globally. So that tells us that there's still a ton of headroom in digital retail advertising to catch up to where digital retail is, if that's
Essentially, the growth is outpacing in digital advertising in retail is outpacing digital retail.
So there's headroom. There's headroom in that.
It's growing faster.
In that market. And with the speed of that catch up, the reason why it's at,
Classically.
right? The speed of that catch up is tripping up even the most savviest marketing organizations or brand organizations. And I think the simple challenge, and we could talk about a million challenges, but I think the simple challenge is, if we're real about this, is that in brands, marketing and sales organizations and decision
Totally
makers are not just living on separate floors,
Right.
but are still probably living in separate buildings.
Yeah.
And that was a necessary structure to get us to where we are today, but it's really a hindrance now to get us all to where we need to be, where there's much more connectivity from mass marketing
100%.
into retail marketing, so on and so forth. So I think the biggest challenge that I hear from our most senior clients is, help me overcome the legacy silos, the muscle memory, the scars, so that we can more fully embrace this opportunity. And I think the reason why that's really a challenge is because that's a real kind of challenge.
Oh,
It's
yeah.
not just a technology challenge or just a data challenge. That is an existential challenge that involves organizational structures, incentives, so on and so forth. So I think what we all need to work on as an industry is really embracing overcoming that simple challenge or that single challenge, because once we do that, we are going to unlock so much more interesting work, more effective work together, because right now, so much time and energy is actually spent on trying to resolve internal politics
Totally.
and ownership questions. and we're spending less time, oddly, on consumers, customers, selling stuff.
I mean, that was the whole thrust of the connected commerce work we did earlier.
I did read that.
This year. I'm so glad. Thank you, George. But that's exactly the nexus of commerce and media is it's overcoming the internal organizational structures that get in the way of serving consumers the way that they now behave, right?
Yeah.
So we know that the purchase life cycle is, you know, nonlinear and collapsing, and you can buy something from an influencer that you didn't even know that you needed, you know, and we know that the way that brands are structured is not designed to serve that very nonlinear and collapsing purchase life cycle. And so that was the big piece of recommendation in the piece was, hey, you need to collapse these things. You need to bring brand and shopper together. And the real question, though, is sort of how. Although, no, actually, I think you're right. The real question is, do we have the organizational will to make this change? And then how do we do it? So is that where you feel like you are with clients now, where they sort of know that the organizational change is a requirement?
I think so.
Because that was kind of novel a year ago.
I think we're there. I think the digital retail market has now hit such scale
Right.
that it's not just an asterisk
It's a must-have.
on the financial plan. It's a line item. So, and I think what we're also seeing is that this conversation is not just happening at the kind of marketing manager level.
Right.
This conversation is now happening at the C-suite and in some cases at the board level,
Right.
because they recognize the importance of embracing a much more connected approach.
Okay. So we're sort of
how they
past
go to market.
we're getting past the why
think they
and
are.
into the
Yeah.
how, you
Yeah.
think?
And I think, you know, meanwhile, we've all been building a library of use cases and proof points that when we
Right.
do collaborate, connect the dots, we win.
Right.
So, look, change like this takes time. It's not going to happen overnight. I think we're still years away from
I think you're right.
this becoming the norm.
Yeah.
But I think the companies that act now, work through those pain points, will be at a real advantage over the coming years compared to those who don't make the tough decisions to connect those dots.
I mean, that's progress, though. Even the fact that we are at a better place with people acknowledging the why.
Sure.
And sort of working through the how. So you are in a global role. So let's talk. You're like, yes, that's true, Joanna, I am. Last I checked. So, you know, that means that you definitely have perspective that I do not
Yeah.
on what is happening outside of the United States. Can you talk a little bit about what's sort of going on in retail and commerce media that's interesting and kind of where things are going?
Yeah. If you guys want to know where all this is headed, you
China.
just look at China.
Yeah.
You know, I have a phrase that I probably stole from Ben or somebody else on my team, that the e-commerce sun or the retail media sun rises in the east and sets in the west.
Ah, that's
So
pretty good.
it's, you know, it's China. We're seeing much more activity in India. You know, in China, you've got 2/3 of the population actively involved in buying through video commerce, which I know we're going to talk about
Later, yep.
in a bit. In India, you've got over 270 million consumers who are buying through live shopping
Right.
environments.
Massive compared
Right?
to here. Massive.
These are things that we're talking about here in the U.S. as if
like novelties.
these are novelties.
Right.
You know, we're going to test this and test that. And if you simply spend some time understanding this landscape in a China and in emerging in India as two examples, you recognize that the U.S. in particular, most of Europe as well, we're probably 5 years behind the curve on innovation in this area.
Technology, consumers adopt, marketers must
There you
adapt.
go.
And
So,
results. Yeah, totally.
You know, I think it's really exciting, and I think we, by leveraging some of those learnings more, we can all move further faster towards where the puck's going.
I think that's sage. That's a great place to end. Thank you, sir.
you,
I really
Joanna.
appreciate it.
Always.
You're off the hook.
Well, I'm on the next one.